You are now listening to Just Another Year Chicago with your host, Nick Rohde. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this Sunday's episode of Just Another Year Chicago. I'm Nick Rohde, and today we are celebrating that the Bears are in the playoffs for now with a 41-17 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll also be hitting on the good and the bad of today's game, top performers, and looking into next week's game against the rival up north, the Green Bay Packers. After our segment with the Chicago Bears, we're going to be hitting on the Chicago Bulls and their early season struggles and what needs to happen for things to get turned around, or if this is a plan by the front office to continue to clean house. Before we jump into everything, please remember to hit that subscribe button and to follow me on Twitter at ChicagoNick to talk sports. So to start things off today, the Chicago Bears win against the Jacksonville Jaguars 41-17 in Jacksonville to officially put themselves in the final wild card spot in the NFC playoff race for now. The game started rough, even though the Bears ended up crushing the Jacksonville Jaguars by a total of 24 points, but there was a lot of questionable moments in this game, especially in the beginning, that started especially with the defense, from play calling with Chuck Pagano. But overall, the offense and defense both had really good days, especially by Roquan Smith, David Montgomery, and Mitchell Trubisky. But let's start with the offense for today. So everything looked great minus the 2 3-and-outs that happened in the second quarter and the Mitch Trubisky, which also included a Mitch Trubisky interception in the end zone on a very questionable play call. So he's looking good. Let's start off with Mitch Trubisky. He's looking good. He's looking strong. He's looking much more confident than he did earlier in the season and earlier in his career, thanks to play calling by Bill Lazor and also more weapons on offense, including an improved offensive line. We're going to get to that in a little bit, though. But Mitch had another great day, almost another 100 quarterback passing rating. Again, he was at 97.2 on the day with 265 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and an interception with a rushing touchdown. So great day by Mitch. He looks much more confident in the pocket. Again, totaling 3 touchdowns, 2 of them throwing to Jimmy Graham, who is also back to life in the Chicago Bears offense. One thing I want to see Mitch Trubisky do more, though, from the bad, is that he doesn't switch plays up at the line, and that's kind of what happened in the 3-and-outs with the Chicago Bears. Also, the defense on his one lone interception, he did not read the defense well. He could have switched the play up at the line, and that's something that Mitch Trubisky struggles with because he only wants to listen to what is put in front of him. So that is one thing that I want to see from Mitchell Trubisky moving forward, is that he's at the line and he is the quarterback of this offense. Not just saying, okay, we're going to run this play, or it's okay to disagree. Greats like Peyton Manning, John Elway, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers all have switched plays up at the line. That's something that Mitch Trubisky needs to do. But I think the Bears need to also understand that they are in a rough position with Mitch Trubisky now because they lost faith in him. They declined his 5th-year option to keep him on the team next year for sure. And now that he's playing well, he is not an elite NFL quarterback, but he's a quarterback that could easily get a starting job at a franchise that is looking for a quarterback until they get their franchise of the future. But Mitch Trubisky is the best option for the Chicago Bears moving forward, and the Bears are in the position where they have to say, are we going to re-sign this guy or are we going to let him walk? And as right now, even though there has been hate that's come out of my mouth and plenty of other analysts' mouth about not keeping Mitchell Trubisky, he is the best option for the Chicago Bears moving forward. And that is why I believe the Bears, I stick to my guns, is that the Chicago Bears need to sign him to a 2-year prove-it contract after this season. And I think that Mitchell Trubisky will accept that too. He knows that he still has a lot to work on to be at a Patrick Mahomes, at an Aaron Rodgers, at all these elite quarterback levels. He's getting there. He's becoming more comfortable. He's looking like an NFL quarterback and someone that didn't just play 13 games in college at North Carolina. So I like the Bears re-signing him. He had a great game today. Again, that is 4 strong games in a row by Mitch Trubisky, which, by the way, the Bears have scored 30-plus points in the last 4 games for the first time since 1965, Gil Sayers' rookie year. So more to come on the Chicago Bears from that. But another great day, moving on from Mitchell Trubisky, is David Montgomery. Another great day, total of over 100 yards of offense, 95 rushing yards, and he officially joins the 1,000-yard rushing club for the first time in his young career. David Montgomery is proving that he was the answer to the running back problem that the Bears have been having over the last couple of years. Why did we move on from Jordan Howard? We miss a guy like Matt Forte, and David Montgomery is doing a great job. Matt Nagy made a good call on talent, and that is what he did from a head coaching standpoint. I really like how David Montgomery is playing. Again, he has joined the 1,000-yard rushing club, which is a hard feat for any running back. And he had rushing touchdowns again today, so he has 6 total on the season so far, most coming in the last 4 weeks. and keep giving this man the ball if the Bears want to see continued success on offense. Again, he breaks tackles, he catches, he's fast, and he's a tough runner. I really like David Montgomery, and I hope that the Bears continue to keep getting him more involved in the offense. Followed by David Montgomery is Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson started his career with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and not sure how much bad blood he does have in Jacksonville, considering how the team has gone in a complete different direction since he left. He was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars due to they didn't think he was going to come back from his ACL injury that he sustained 3 years ago. But Allen Robinson is a Pro Bowl level receiver. We do believe that he was snubbed from a Pro Bowl spot again this year, but he has 1,000 yards receiving. He's having a great game, and he had a great game against the Jaguars. He had 10 catches for over 100 yards. He averaged 10.3 yards per catch, and you can't ask more for that. That's a first down every single time he's touching the ball. So he had some really slick moves today, especially juking out defenders and getting more yards. I really like Allen Robinson. I still believe that they are going to franchise tag him after this season to keep him. So once in 2022, when they're able to clear more cap, considering they do have some pretty bad contracts still on the roster, they'll be able to give him a payday, and he'll still be in his prime. So I do whatever it takes, Ryan Pace, to keep this man in a Bears uniform, because if we lose him, sure, we have Darnell Mooney now. Sure, we have Anthony Miller, but he's not an elite receiver. Those are not elite receivers like Allen Robinson, and that's someone that Mitch Trubisky needs. So super awesome that he had a great day today. Very happy that he is looking happy on the sidelines as well. There was a lot of weeks where he wasn't even talking to the offense, wasn't talking to Matt Nagy, but he looks much more comfortable, and he looks happy to be in a Chicago Bears uniform. Followed by Allen Robinson is Darnell Mooney had a great day, and another for a rookie. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that he is a rookie fifth-round pick from Tulane. He's one of the fastest wide receivers in the draft, and he showed it today. He had some great moves, such as fighting off defenders. There was a play where he did juke out 2 defenders and got himself an extra 10 yards for a first down. So Darnell Mooney, keep doing what you're doing. Chicago Bears fans love having this guy on the roster, and he was still another great pick by Ryan Pace in the late round. There is something about Ryan Pace that he cannot draft in the first couple rounds. The last 2 years have been good, but, his first couple years, Kevin White, Leonard Floyd, trading up for Mitch Trubisky, a couple questionable calls by Ryan Pace, but he is really good at getting late round talent, and Darnell Mooney is definitely proving that on his resume once again. Talking about Jimmy Graham earlier, I want to talk about him again. He had 2 touchdowns today. Keep feeding this man the ball. He is an elite tight end, in my opinion, considering he has 8 touchdowns this year. And during the 6-game losing streak, he only had 1 touchdown because they stopped giving him the ball. When the Bears win, Jimmy Graham usually has a touchdown pass. Keep feeding this man the ball, and good things will happen, especially also with Cole Kmet. If you keep this tight ends are key in the NFL today. Look at Travis Kelce and his success that he is seeing in Kansas City being a tight end. I really, really, really like Jimmy Graham. I think that there was a lot of hate around him for the amount of money they paid him, but he is teaching Cole Kmet and making this offense dangerous. So keep feeding the man the ball. Good things will happen, and he's playing his old team next week. Could be another revenge game. The offensive line had another great day today. Mitch was put under pressure on a few throws. There was one throw that he was under pressure that he could have hit Cole Kmet if he had a little bit more time for a potential touchdown and, really opened up the game. But overall, the Chicago Bears offensive line, what an improvement. And it raises a lot of questions of what the Bears want to do in the future. I mean, Charles Leno, I know I've ripped on him constantly the last couple weeks, but not sure if he's listening, but he's playing at an elite level. He's the number 5 left tackle over the last 5 weeks. And, you need to play like that all season. Everyone has their ups and downs. But I still would like the Bears to draft a left tackle in the first round. Now that we have the answer at quarterback for now, if Mitch continues to play like this, go out and get Alex Leatherwood from Alabama, one of the elite left tackles in the draft. The Bears will not get a top 10 pick this year, considering they are making a playoff push still, but there's still a good opportunity to get a left tackle, whether that be Leatherwood. But I really like how this offensive line is playing. Sam Mustipher is a great center. He's the center that we needed. Alex Bars is playing great. Whitehair is also playing great back at guard position. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but Charles Leno Jr. is playing up to the part. Not playing good teams, but he is doing what he has to do in order to give Mitch Trubisky time. So, and again, when an offensive line plays well, your quarterback gets time. That's why Mitch has been playing better, and that's also why David Montgomery has been on a tear. He's doing such a good job around this offensive line. That's something that needs to continue. So shout out to the offensive line for looking awesome. And two more things that I want to go over about the offense super fast is that our undrafted rookie free agent Pierce scored his first career rushing touchdown today. He kind of had that swagger of sweetness, high stepping through defenders, finding holes and just punching it through. I really like this kid. I think that he could be our second round back, considering Lamar Miller is now a part of the Washington football team. He was picked up off the practice squad because he was demoted. But best of luck to Lamar Miller. I really liked him. I don't think he had a good enough opportunity in Chicago, kind of like a Mike Davis situation. Mike Davis, who now is on the Carolina Panthers and is having a decent season with Christian McCaffrey out. But I really like this guy. The Bears have a lot of young talent, and they need to continue to do this, and that is why it's so hard to get rid of Ryan Pace, because he is just good enough to get young talent, whether it be undrafted or in the later rounds. This is his first GM job, and he's made mistakes, but overall, Ryan Pace, I think, has done just a fine job at putting together a team, and I'm going to get into that in the coaching in a little bit. But let's go to the defense. Sauce start today. Not a fan of how the defense started the game. They gave up 3 points on the opening drive. Sure, fine, whatever. It's only 3 points. But it's Jacksonville. You cannot give them confidence at all, because a lot of people don't remember. And without James Robinson, one of the elite running backs in the NFL right now, shout out to Illinois State. Shout out James Robinson. We miss seeing you today. I miss seeing you today. I don't know about everyone else, but I really wanted to see him play against the Chicago Bears. Could have been a completely different game with him. But, you're playing against Mike Glennon, the Bears' ex-quarterback that's hopped around. He's been on 5 different teams in the last 8 years. Why people keep paying this man, I don't know. You have Gardner Minshew, who has set multiple franchise records for his age. And, there was a stat today that he had the most touchdowns and the least amount of interceptions in his first 20 career games. He had 33 touchdowns and 9 interceptions in his first 20 career games. Not sure why they're sitting Minshew. I know that they're going for the number 1 pick now. I think Gardner Minshew is in a bad position, kind of like Josh Rosen. So overall, but again, you can't give up opportunity to a Jacksonville Jaguars team. And this is what I was getting at. It was 10-10 at one point. You can't have that against a 1-13 team that was on a 13-game losing streak when you're trying to fight for the playoffs. The Bears turned it on. They won the game. They won by a large margin, but you can't let that happen against a team that's tanking. And also, the Bears only had 1 sack today with Danny Trevathan. There wasn't too much pressure there was pressure on Glennon, but it wasn't like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get sacked, or didn't make him want to tuck and just take the hit. Really, really questionable. But the intensity did kick up in the second half. 2 interceptions by Roquan Smith, both that he fumbled, ironically. But, we recovered both, which is great. But he's showing everyone that he should be a Pro Bowler. And the Pro Bowl should not be based on popularity. It should be based on performance. Another great day with 8 tackles by Roquan Smith. And again, Khalil Mack and company were making pressure on Mike Glennon. Not much more to say about that, though. There was no sacks. I was really hoping Quinn was going to get another sack this game to show his money. But, they did what they had to do, and that's fine. Hakeem Hicks, Brett Urban were also just messing with Mike Glennon. There's a clip of them just messing with Glennon, saying, like, oh, we don't miss you. It looked like they were saying, we don't miss you in Chicago. I would hope that Hicks wouldn't go to that level, but it was a very interesting day for the defense. But with that, Pagano's still on the hot seat. There's no doubt that Chuck Pagano was on the hot seat, considering, again, we were tied at one point. We were giving up points to a very weak Jacksonville Jaguars team, and the intensity was not there in the beginning. Also, he's having defensive linemen still dropping back into coverage. Mack and Quinn are dropping back into defensive coverage. Why? You have Danny Trevathan and Roquan Smith as your linebackers who are fast. They can read plays and get to the ball quickly. I know that you're trying to make that safety blanket, but go after and get the quarterback. Get in the quarterback's head, make him lose his confidence. A little bit about that also. Shout out to Danny Trevathan and his play in the second half of the season. He was a slow start, but thanks, and that's thanks to no training camp. That's thanks to no preseason. He's an older player, but he's really turned it on and helped lead this defense to new heights again. And it's showing that it was a tough pick last season between him and Nick Kowalski, who is now in the Oakland Raiders, or the Las Vegas Raiders. who is having a good season, but Danny Trevathan is just as good of a player. Very happy to see that he's doing well. I know I said I was getting to this earlier, but now we're here. Coaching. To start off, Matt Nagy. Way to put your pride aside and give Bill Lazor, who has completely turned around this offense, play calling duties. So I give that credit to Coach. I know I still rip on him a lot. I still question a lot of his decision-making, but he stands up for his guys. He is able to evaluate talent, and clearly that he's working with Bill Lazor well. So shout out to Bill Lazor. Shout out to Matt Nagy. Great job today. Again, 30-point plus games is impressive by any standard. So keep that up. Keep this offense going. I think that Matt Nagy has saved his job if the Bears do make the playoffs, considering how this team has turned around. If the Bears were to somehow not make the playoffs, I don't know what the McCaskies would do. I think they would keep Ryan Pace, but they would not keep Matt Nagy. So Matt Nagy is still on the hot seat. I don't care what anyone else says. I still think he's on the hot seat, but Chuck Pagano's seat is red hot right now. You cannot have this talented of a unit to still give up points against, a Jacksonville Jaguars team and make the game close for a while. You should be playing that intensity that they played in the second half all game. Also, last week against the Vikings, there was a lot of questionable calls. Chuck Pagano, you need to stop playing so conservative. You need to let your guys do their work and get to the quarterback. And you have, again, a good secondary in the back. I don't know what you're so nervous about. So, with that, and you cannot allow this type of momentum early in a game that the Jacksonville Jaguars had against a Green Bay team. If they don't sit their starters, or they do sit their starters, you are still fighting for the playoffs. And if you do make the playoffs, everyone's on a new level. And if you give them momentum early, that's not good for anyone. You are going to lose games. You win games at the end, but it's about how you play the entire game. And if you play the whole game with high intensity, strong defense, and you don't allow the other team to get any momentum, you are going to win a game. So, with that, next week, Green Bay at Soldier Field. I say this all the time, but this is the biggest game of the season. The Bears are not in the playoffs for sure. They have that final spot. But if the Bears lose and the Cardinals win, the Cardinals will make the playoffs. So, the Bears need to make sure that they beat Green Bay to for sure lock in that spot, or they have to pray that the LA Rams stomp on the Arizona Cardinals to make sure that we secure that final spot. So if we win, we're officially in the playoffs. If we lose, we still need Arizona to lose to the Rams to lock up the final spot. And I will get into 3 keys for the game in our Wednesday episode, so stay tuned for that. But a very exciting game against the guys up north. And it's a very exciting time to be it feels like the playoffs every single week. It is for sure going to feel like a playoff game next week. And pray that the Green Bay Packers win tonight and for sure clinch that final wild card spot. I'm sorry, not final wild card spot, that number 1 seed, so they get the bye. So there's a higher chance of them sitting their starters in week 17, because you do not want Khalil Mack sacking Aaron Rodgers and potentially hurting him and taking him out of the postseason. It's same with Devontae Adams, same with Aaron Jones, same with any of their very talented offensive line, and even their defense has kicked it up in this later half of the season. I really think that the Packers will sit a lot of their starters next week if they win tonight, but it all depends on tonight. So with that, we need to make sure that I want to close this out just to make sure I explain this correctly. The Bears need to for sure win next week to lock in the final spot. If they do not win next week, we need the LA Rams to beat the Arizona Cardinals. So make sure that you root for the Rams next week. Make sure that you make sure that you encourage the Packers to win tonight and lock in that final that number 1 seed. So with that, moving on from the Bears to the Chicago Bulls, it's been a very rough start for the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls are 0-2 right now. In both games, they were down by 30 at one point, and they scored higher in the fourth quarter in garbage time to make the game look a little bit more respectful. The team does not look good really at all. They're not in sync. They look completely different than they did in the preseason, and that's a concern for the front office. That's a concern for the coach. And I know it's only 2 games, and I'm close to hitting the panic mode button, but the Chicago Bulls need to get better play out of all their starters, especially Kobe White. This is his shot to put the league on notice, and he's failing to do so by, not scoring big in games like he was before COVID happened in the final games of the season, or of last season, when Kobe White was balling out after the All-Star break. The defense looks confused and lost as a unit. Assignments are not being, sticking on their man. Wide open baskets or shots are being taken. There's no aggressiveness, and that's something that the Bulls really need to work on in order to win this season and make it to the playoffs. Again, the Bulls will not win the championship this year, but they can make the playoffs with this roster, and that is something that they need to work on immediately. They need to create more opportunity for themselves, such as blocking shots, getting defensive rebounds, or even offensive rebounds and steals to create more opportunity for the team. The offense also has been going on crazy long cold streaks. They need to find a way to get consistent and raise their field goal percentage as a team, but also to just find ways to continuously score throughout the game and not go 3 or 4 minutes without a basket. That's not going to help a team. That's a lot of time, and that's how teams go on, 10, 20-point runs. So the Bulls need to figure it out quickly. But I do want to talk about the good really fast, is that Patrick Williams does look good, our rookie first-round pick. He's currently number 2 in all-rookie scoring behind James Wiseman, who the Bulls play tonight against the Golden State Warriors, which I'll get to in a second. But he is creating an opportunity for himself. He is scoring 12.5 points per game, which is great to see. They're not all-star stats, but again, it's the first 2 games of the season. He's 19 years old, and he only played 4 preseason games. So super exciting to see Patrick Williams, potentially the future of the Bulls, doing well. But again, that starting lineup needs to create opportunity for themselves, especially from Kobe White and Zach LaVine. They need to kick into gear. LaVine is only averaging 19.5 points per game, and Kobe White's only averaging 10.5 points per game. Again, only the first 2 games, but you guys need to kick it up. You guys balled out in the preseason. You know what you're able to do, and you guys could be a potentially great or elite backcourt, and you guys are slumping when you guys need to be leaders of the team. So going back into what I said before, the Bulls play the Golden State Warriors tonight in California, their first away game, hopefully their first win. The Warriors are also struggling. They don't have Klay Thompson, who really helps, complete that Golden State offense. But they're for sure playing better than the Bulls. They have much more talent than the Bulls, and their rookie, James Wiseman, is doing a really good job at putting the league on notice as their potential center of the future. So the Bulls need to find a way to stop him. They need to find a way to stop Steph Curry and win this game. They cannot go down 0-3 because that's bad blood, and that's when the front office is really going to start going, okay, is this the roster that's going to do it? Is this what Billy Donovan needs? And this is the question I want to leave you all with, is this still part of the plan to continue to clean house? The Bulls front office seems very, very open to moving their star players, not league star players, their star players, around to other places in the league in order to gain draft capital and clear space so they're able to land big free agents and star talent in the draft next year. I think that right now Wendell Carter Jr., Larry Marketing, and Otto Porter Jr. are for sure going to be on the move. This type of play continues because, one, they have cap and they still have some value because they're young. So I could see the Bulls going out and getting, a first-round pick or 2, just trying to build some capital, or a young talent to come in for a 2-for-1 deal. So something very interesting to think about with the Chicago Bulls moving forward. I don't see the Bulls moving on Gafford, Kobe White, Patrick Williams, or Zach LaVine just yet. Out of that list, Zach LaVine would be the first to go because Gafford is young. He's very talented. Just needs to put on a little bit more muscle, and he's starting to put the league on notice that he could be a wrecking ball in years to come. Kobe White still, it's early. He's getting used to being, point guard 1. But if he continues his play, I still don't think the Bulls would get rid of him this year. If he were to do it next year too, then the Bulls would start looking around, and there's no way they're touching Patrick Williams. So everyone's a hard worker out of that list. They need to continue to work hard and get that win tonight at Golden State. So more to come on that. But with that, that's today's wrap of today's episode of Just Another Year Chicago. Tune into this Wednesday's episode. It's going to be a long one because we're going to talk more about the Bulls, hopefully with some better news or what could potentially be happening with the roster and the Chicago Bears' keys to beating Green Bay and anything else Chicago sports. Please remember to hit that subscribe button and stay up to date on all of our videos, or follow me on Twitter at ChicagoNick and Let's Talk Sports. So thank you all again for tuning in to this Sunday's episode. Great Bears win again, and let's go Bulls. Let's get a win tonight against the Golden State Warriors. Thank you all again, and we'll see you next time.